Thanks for tuning into this particular video. This is going to be a very hot topic, showing IBM security products along with storage products working together as a synergy to not only increase you and your business's cyber resiliency, but also remediate against ransomware and malware attacks. None of this could have been done without Guy, Federico, and Nicola. Their hard work across the European theater. You're going to see their hard work come to life in this demonstration, both in the slide deck as well as the live demonstration. Now, please, if you have more questions, reach out to any of us. We'll be glad to take you through on a POC or for proof of concept, proof of technology, or do live demos over WebEx or in person. Now, before we get into the actual slide deck or the demo, but feel free to skip ahead, I want to give you the overview of what you're about to see here today. We are going to simulate a ransomware attack. This attack will try to encrypt the application server, which you see on the lower left-hand side. This attack will be watched by IBM's QRadar. It will watch those events, and then immediately, as a SIEM, it will then look at those events, correlate those events, and then immediately launch a remediation of that. And that is done by IBM SOAR, which is our orchestration and automation response platform. We'll get into that next. SOAR will immediately leverage IBM FlashSystems Safeguarded Snapshots. Not just snapshots, but immutable snapshots that cannot be written to or anything else, so that they are perfect for us to do a restoration. Or in our case, as you see on the screen, IBM SOAR will go back looking through various different safeguarded snapshots or those golden copies using Copy Services Manager, and it will be validating and testing them to find out which ones were not corrupted or attacked, and then restoring them to the recovery server, validating them, and then finally restoring that copy to the application server. Let's take a look at the players. The first player we talked about, QRadar. This is our SIEM, which means it will watch for all of those events, and its extended detection response goes across not only on-premise, but also cloud. This is all in real time. It looks at behavioral analytics as well as many hundreds of integrations with products you're already using today, from Splunk, databases known as Oracle, SQL, SAP, as well as many other network switches and IoT devices. Not only that, we'll only do that in real time and link to all those various behaviors, and then be able to show you those use cases to be able to prioritize where you should be taking those actions and remediations. Now, as part of that, we'll also be categorizing those into investigations, and those priorities using our artificial intelligence or AI, and that's from our division of Watson. We'll actually look at those different priorities and be able to mitigate those attacks, as well as hunt down by searching through all those many myriads of logs and events that are constantly being sent to QRadar. Now, we've talked about QRadar, that's our SIEM. Let's talk about the other part. Once QRadar is aware of malicious activity and it prioritizes where those investigations are, you'll want to take an automation and response platform like SOAR. That's where you see on the right side of this particular screen, where QRadar can then immediately launch a playbook using Ansible or any other type of automation that you might have at your business or processes in cloud or on-premise, to immediately then gather and remediate and close those issues automatically. You'll see this live in the demo. Let's take a deeper dive on SOAR. And again, the acronym is Security, Orchestration, Automation, and Response. We will take those events and those investigations that QRadar has prioritized and looked for us, and then immediately then look for our triage and our playbooks in making intelligent, artificial intelligence decisions about how best to solve and remediate those. The key thing about this is that we have tremendously easy to use dashboards, both on QRadar as well as SOAR, so that you'll see step by step any and all of these actions as well as these threats in real time, allowing you very concise organization and remediation in a very short time frame. And that's what's so key. It's not just about being able to take actions, but accelerate and orchestrate those responses without having to worry about missing key important threats or events, and allowing your ecosystem to resume as fast as possible. Now, this also means that we'll be going across many different teams. These dashboards are wonderful for not only the application team, your network or firewall or security teams, as well as any other parts of your business to be able to prioritize and react faster, thus enabling your business to restart faster from any attack. Now, we've talked about this earlier, but I want to go into a deeper dive. So yes, security and QRadar and SOAR at the center of this. We will look for all those various different logs. We can get them from many different sources. Notice that on the left-hand side. We'll then immediately, once we look at all of those, start remediation. And that's where you'll see SOAR starting to do all of its actions. And we'll be doing this live in just a few moments. I showed this slide earlier. Again, this is what we're about to show. QRadar will see an attack on the production server, the application server on the lower left-hand side. It will see those encrypted files. It'll then immediately escalate that to SOAR. SOAR will then immediately use the safeguarded snapshots, which are immutable on the IBM FlashSystem, by getting a list of all of them from IBM's Copy Services Manager. It will find those golden copies and then restore them one by one, validating and testing them on the recovery server until it finds one that passes all of those tests, and then immediately be able to push that to the application server and restart the application server. Now that you've seen the pictures, let's talk about the words and the step-by-steps you're about to see in the live demo. 1, we will see the application and the application server is running. We will see the actual native files before they get encrypted. And then we will see them get encrypted. We'll see the attack in real time. We will then see the QRadar SIEM take a look at those actions and those incidences and then immediately create an offense. It will then escalate that to SOAR as an immediate remediation. SOAR will then start to grab a list of all those immutable, eligible, safeguarded copies and see which ones can then be validated and tested to make sure they're not encrypted or ransomware in any way, shape, or form. We will test those on our recovery server, and once that recovery server tests clean, we will restore those back to the actual production server. In this case, we will pick the most likely snapshot and then restart the application. After the application is restarted, we will then close the escalation and verify that the application server is running, and then leave that open for any other remaining data concerns. Now, step by step. First one, we will show you the application server and QRadar monitoring it, where the files are not encrypted. We will then see the files become encrypted, where the attack is being detected by QRadar. Then QRadar will immediately correlate those events and escalate that to IBM's SOAR, or our Security, Response, and Automation Remediation platform. Then it's going to immediately start that playbook. SOAR will say, wait, we need to sanitize, isolate, and clean our application server. It will then get a list of all of those eligible snapshots and backups that it will then prioritize. Not only that, it will then look just for the safeguarded copies, which we know are immutable and that way haven't been modified in any way, shape, or form. It will then find out of those safeguarded copies, one good copy out of all of those by testing and validating on the recovery server. It will then, after it finds a valid safeguarded copy, restore that back to the application server and then restart that application server. It will do this all automatically, and we will show this in a step-by-step way so you can see how we can accelerate your cyber resiliency remediation efforts. Last but not least, once this restart is completed, we will then close the events and look for any other further actions to take. Now that we've gone over the overview, let's take a look at the actual live server. You can see that I've got a series of text files. When I click on the text files, they look normal. Great. randomized numbers like we expect. But let's go inside QRadar, where we'll actually see that attack starting to encrypt. Yes, take a look. It's already seen some of those encryptions. It's labeled it as offense number 79. You can see the close-up where my file is now encrypted, where before it was actually well-formed. So now we've seen that offense. It's actually going to escalate that to our friend at SOAR. And there it is, offense number 79. Now I'm speeding things up a little bit in the interest of time, but all this is in real time. So we're now going to log into SOAR, and we're actually going to do this in a step-by-step manner, but it can be all automatic as well. Inside SOAR, we can see that activity, and in fact, we can see that escalation, number 79. Let's actually go step-by-step now as part of the remediation. The first thing SOAR is going to say is, let's make sure about our triage. In other words, has this actually been infected? Are you sure? Yes, we are very sure. Okay, let's confirm that this is not a false positive, and we have confirmed that. So we're actually going to say, yes, let's go ahead and take some automatic remediation steps. This is going to engage our Ansible and all of our playbooks to actually then start looking for all those safeguarded snapshots. You'll see this right now, where it's actually going to query and start looking for all of those safeguarded snapshots and then try to test and verify them. Here we go. As you can see, we're detecting and analyzing right now by grabbing all those backups. And as you can see, I can take a look at the actual status and see exactly where and what it's doing and how far it's gone through its particular playbook to remediate this problem. As you can see, we now are going through all those different recoveries. Here are my safeguarded snapshots, and it's actually found one that looks like it's a winner in the fact that it's validated, that it's not corrupt or encrypted. And it's actually going to continue. As you can see with the workflow status, it's actually going to then send that to the recovery server and then to our actual production server if it passes the muster. And not only that, you can see it's restarted the application because it did pass all of those encryption and validation tests. And now it says, please check your production server. Here we are back at our production server. You can see that if I click and I now click on some of those files, you'll actually see those files are back to their original state because we have restored from our immutable snapshot back to our production server. And as a final thing, we can close out this entire event because the app server has been restored properly. This has been a quick version of a demonstration of cyber resiliency. We look forward to seeing you at an upcoming event.